Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here for part 3 of our Learn to Code roadmap for 2026. In our last session together, we navigated those tricky waters of choosing your very first programming language. But more importantly, I asked you to do one specific, absolutely crucial thing. I really hope you kept that core reason you wrote down in part 2 handy, because today we are rolling up our sleeves and getting to work. That reason you documented, whether it's aiming for a specific salary bracket in USD, finally building that application you've dreamed about for years, or just securing a dynamic new career in the global tech market, that is your anchor. We are pivoting directly from all the theoretical planning of our previous sessions right into the gritty, highly rewarding reality of actually learning to code in 2026. You are going to need that deep motivation because today we establish your actual learning method.
Okay, let's dive right into the core rule of this explainer. We have to start by shattering a massive myth that derails literally countless aspiring developers. Passive learning is a complete illusion. Seriously, when you sit back and watch a wildly talented instructor type out perfect lines of code on your screen, your brain kind of tricks you. It releases this little hit of dopamine, making you feel like you just learned how to do it yourself. But you didn't. You just watched someone else perform a highly technical skill. It's exactly like watching a professional athlete shoot a basketball and genuinely believing you can now step on the court and do exactly the same thing in a high-pressure game. The active learning imperative means that your hands must be on the keyboard.
There's this stark, glaring contrast between the comfort of tutorial hell and the reality of real programming. You see, tutorial hell exists because, well, it's comfortable. It's a safe little space where nothing ever goes wrong because you're just blindly following a script. But you absolutely do not learn to code by just passively watching someone else's perfect execution. You learn by breaking code and then figuring out how to fix it. When you type something out, run it, and the screen turns aggressively red with error messages, that is not a failure. That is the exact moment learning begins. You have to read the error, research the problem, tweak your syntax, and try again. That frustration you feel when the code is broken, that's actually the physical sensation of your brain building the neural pathways required to become a software developer.
So, how do we escape tutorial hell? You need to adopt a project-first mindset from your very first day at the keyboard. You cannot wait until you feel ready to build a project, because honestly, if you wait for that feeling, you'll be waiting forever. The modern approach to learning in 2026 demands that you learn the absolute bare minimum, maybe just how to declare a variable or write a super basic function, and immediately use it to build something tiny. It doesn't matter if it's just a digital calculator or a simple text-based game that asks the user for their name. By focusing on projects, you force yourself to combine different coding concepts together in a messy, real-world way, and that is exactly what professional developers do every single day.
Because this project-first approach is just so critical, you need learning environments that actively enforce it. Platforms like freeCodeCamp and the Odin Project are phenomenal for this. They don't just hold your hand and spoon-feed you hours of continuous video content. No. They throw you right into the deep end, but safely. They'll give you a bite-sized piece of documentation, hand you a blank text editor, and give you a goal. They force you to build actual projects. This methodology is vastly superior because it perfectly mimics the real-world job environment. I mean, think about it. No one at a major tech company is going to hand you a step-by-step video on how to solve their unique database problem. They're going to give you an objective, and you have to build a solution.
Now, hold on a second. Let's hit pause for a quick reality check. Are you still relying on outdated advice from half a decade ago? It's incredibly easy to go online, search for learning paths, and stumble across some highly rated guide that was actually published way back in 2018. We really need to have a serious conversation about the calendar here.
The exact same roadmap that worked seamlessly in 2018 simply does not work identically in the fast-paced modern landscape of 2026. 8 years ago, the barrier to entry was a bit softer. You could often get away with a heavier reliance on passive video consumption to get your foot in the door, mostly because the sheer volume of entry-level applicants was different and the tooling was far less abstracted. But the 2026 reality demands immediate, provable competency. Employers today do not care how many tutorial completion certificates you have saved on your desktop. They care if you can open an editor, write functional code, and solve a problem independently. The shift from passive absorption to aggressive project-based building, it's no longer just a good idea. It is the fundamental baseline requirement to even compete in today's market.
So with this aggressive, active learning strategy in mind, what does a realistic, modern timeline actually look like for an aspiring developer today? Did you know that burnout is actually the #1 reason self-taught developers quit? If you're dedicating your evenings or weekends, breaking code, and building projects from day one, how long does this actually take? Setting the right expectation is absolutely paramount, because if your timeline is off, you'll quit right before the magic happens.
Let's establish your most critical hurdle right now, the 4-week rule. You must commit to your chosen programming language for at least 4 straight weeks before you even think about evaluating if it's the right fit for you. Let me explain why this is a hard rule. In week 1, you'll be on top of the world. In week 2, the syntax gets confusing, and the honeymoon phase abruptly ends. By week 3, you will inevitably try to convince yourself that switching to Python will magically solve all your problems and make the code write itself. Actually, let me stop you there. It won't. Do not switch. The friction you're feeling is totally normal. Jumping from language to language resets your progress to absolute zero every single time. Give it 4 consecutive weeks of breaking and fixing code before you pass any judgments.
Let's map this journey out together. On day 1, you jump in, start breaking code, and adopt that project-first mindset. By week 4, you hit your first major checkpoint. You fought through the initial friction, you stuck with one language, and now you finally have a basic understanding of how the syntax operates. And within a few months, well, that is when things get really exciting. If you stick to this timeline, building from day 1 and committing to those first 4 weeks without falling for shiny object syndrome, you can achieve practical, usable coding skills within just a few months of consistent practice. Notice I said practical skills. You won't be a senior architect, but you will have the ability to build functional tools, automate basic tasks, and genuinely understand how software is constructed. And that is massive, life-changing progress.
So what does this all mean? You have your reason, you have your active learning method, and you have your realistic timeline. But the ultimate question remains, how do these raw skills translate into real-world value and a lucrative career? If you stick to this path, fight through the friction, and build practical skills, what exactly is waiting for you on the other side? In our final installment, Part 4, we will connect these newly acquired skills to real United States career paths and show you exactly what to do next to start earning. But until then, I want you to ask yourself one thing. What are you going to build today?
All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to the grand finale of our 2026 Learn to Code Explainer series. If you've been tracking with us through parts 1, 2, and 3, your foundation is absolutely rock solid at this point. So today we are finally bridging that gap. We're taking all those syntax rules and logic puzzles you've been grinding on and turning them into the one thing you're actually here for, a hired working tech career. Because let's be honest, this isn't just about knowing how to write a loop anymore. It's about translating that harder knowledge into a real professional identity.
You know, picking up exactly where we left off in Part 3, you'll remember our deep dive into the absolute necessity of building things. Applying your coding knowledge through hands-on, project-based learning is the undisputed engine of your progress. You simply can't just read about coding. You literally have to do it. And I'm not talking about building another basic Hello World app that just sits quietly on your desktop. I mean building a functional weather dashboard that pulls live data from a real API, or coding up an automated expense tracker that actually manages a back-end database. Those projects are the vital bridge between a theoretical understanding and the practical, tangible skills that hiring managers are desperately looking for right now. But building projects in a vacuum isn't the actual end goal, is it? Dedicating countless hours to building those foundational projects begs the ultimate question for every focused learner out there, especially if you're looking to break into the highly competitive US tech market. You're putting in the sweat equity, you're staying up late, you're debugging code until your eyes literally cross. But what is the actual return on investment here? What does all this immense effort look like when you translate it into a US dollar salary and a sustainable long-term profession? Well, we need to look at the exact tangible destinations this foundational skill unlocks for you.
Once you've got those foundational skills locked in, you aren't just wandering aimlessly through the tech landscape anymore. You arrive at a very distinct, highly strategic fork in the road. It's that critical transition from being a general learner to becoming a focused professional. And the beautiful part here is that your earlier choices have already perfectly prepared you for this exact moment. You've packed your bags, you've chosen your vehicle, and now it's time to pick the highway.
This brilliantly illustrates your 2 primary avenues moving forward. If you followed the JavaScript path we outlined earlier in the series, you are perfectly positioned to push straight into web development. This is the path of building the interactive internet, the user interfaces, and the web infrastructure that powers modern business. Fun fact for you, nearly 98% of all websites use JavaScript in some capacity. It's crazy. It is the inescapable backbone of the web. Now, on the flip side, if you chose the Python path, you have effectively unlocked the gateway to AI and data careers. Python's super simple syntax and massive libraries make it the absolute gold standard for data science, machine learning, and the incredibly fast-expanding artificial intelligence sector.
So when you're looking at these two paths, you're going to hear the term roadmap thrown around a whole lot. Think of a tech roadmap like an ultra-specific GPS for your career. It's a strategic, step-by-step plan defining the exact, highly specialized skills you're going to need to secure a specific role in the industry. But here is the secret that a ton of beginners completely miss, usually to their own detriment. You cannot jump straight to the advanced steps of a specialized roadmap without the core foundation we've been building together over these last few sessions.
The really crucial point to grasp is that regardless of which language you chose, JavaScript or Python, mastering these basics is the universal gateway. Why? Because advanced tech isn't magic. It's simply basic concepts stacked on top of each other in highly complex ways. Whether you eventually want to become a senior cloud architect, a machine learning engineer, or a full-stack developer, the foundational coding skills we've discussed are the mandatory prerequisite. They are the essential entry point that unlocks absolutely every advanced career specialization you might want to pursue down the line.
All right, so now that we've seen the grand vision of where this all leads and how it directly connects to the US job market, let's pull the lens back for a second, resuming way out from the micro details. It's time to cohesively review the entire journey you've taken to get here. To truly internalize this whole system, we need to look at the massive amount of strategy we've covered across this entire explainer series and just consolidate it into one clear master recap. So our complete framework comes together in 4 distinct logical parts. First, we mapped out the overwhelming tech landscape and established the one rule, focusing ruthlessly on the fundamentals without getting distracted by shiny new tools. Second, we tackled your language choice, guiding you to confidently pick between the web-focused JavaScript or the data-heavy Python. Third, we established a strict timeline built entirely around project-based learning, proving that building is literally the only way to truly learn. And finally, today, part 4, making that specific career connection, showing you exactly how those projects translate into specialized industry roles. Having this complete framework gives you something incredibly valuable. It gives you complete psychological closure on the preparation phase of your journey. Listen, you don't need to consume any more beginner guides. You don't need to watch yet another tutorial comparing different tech stocks. The theoretical part, it's done. The roadmap is firmly in your hands, and the preparation phase is officially in the rearview mirror. It is time to shift gears from planning to actually doing. However, knowing the path is one thing, but actually walking it requires something entirely different. It requires a very specific, immediate action on your part. You're staring down a final ultimatum right now, because all the structured learning and perfectly organized information in the world won't write the code for you, right? Knowledge without execution is basically just trivia. Your single next action step is incredibly simple, but it demands absolute discipline. You must pick your language today, and you must commit to exactly 4 uninterrupted weeks of focused foundational work. 4 weeks, no distractions, no second guessing, no scrolling Reddit for better ways to learn. Just put your hands on the keyboard and execute the plan we've laid out. This strict 4-week commitment means you do not pivot. You don't switch from Python to JavaScript on day 12 just because it feels hard or you got stuck on a nasty bug. Think of it kind of like trying to dig a well. If you keep moving to a new spot every single time you hit a rock, you are never going to strike water. You have to execute first and evaluate later. That is hands down the only way you break through that initial beginner's friction and actually start building real momentum toward those career goals. The definitive roadmap for 2026 is clearly laid out right in front of you. You know the rules, you know the paths, and you know exactly where it leads in the real-world job market, which leaves you with one final urgent decision to make as we wrap up this explainer. Will you make the choice, pick your language today, and start your 4 weeks of relentless execution? Or will you put it off, stay trapped in the preparation phase, and wait until 2027 to finally take control of your career? The choice is entirely yours.